course, not all public domain works.
This was one of the horror movies that came out. This is ridiculous. Hey, what's up you guys? It's me Tristan and welcome back to another daily reaction video. I'm really excited for today's video because we're going to be reacting to the thousands of creative works that have entered the public domain as of the beginning of this year. I'm really excited to see this right now. I know the old school Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse is in here, and it was really cool to see all the different Mickey products end up in Walmart, some of the crazy kind of cheesy horror movies that used Mickey Mouse that came out recently. So I think it's really awesome as any type of creative person or even a business owner to just know what types of pop culture figures enter the public domain, because I think creating art off of some of these public domain figures is an awesome, fun way to not only continue creating whatever art you create, but it's a cool way to connect with other fandoms and people that are maybe into things that you are only surface level aware of, or just things like that. So I think getting to borrow from these public domain figures or maybe inventing your own new spin on them is always really cool. So I know that we had some Disney-inspired products in the past in our shop, as well as comic book-inspired wear and other pop culture-inspired wear. So make sure you guys go check out those items at tristanhuntier.com and sign up for our 100% free VIP email list, so that way we can notify you guys about 1 to 2 times a week when we add a new streetwear fashion item to our store. It ends up being really worth it for you guys, because not only do you guys get notified about when we add new items, but you guys get invited to our exclusive sales that are only open to people on that email list. So join that VIP email list so that we can notify you guys about new fashion items, and some of those fashion items might even have some of the characters from these public domains. So I'm really excited to see this right now. Also, I'm wondering, is there a way to purchase characters that have entered the public domain and like pull them back out of public domain, or is it once a work or intellectual properties enters, you can't get it out? That's something I've been curious about. So any of you guys that know the legalities of that, feel free to comment that down below. And with that, let's start reacting to the thousands of creative works that have entered the public domain. Let me know what you guys think of this, and let's start this reaction. Oh yeah, I heard Popeye is out this year, so I always really liked Popeye the Sailor Man growing up. I think Popeye inspired merch would be really cool.
That's a scene from the 1980 feature Popeye, director Robert Altman's live action.
Dang, 1980s. Look at those prosthetic muscles.
Take on the beloved cartoon character. Popeye is just one of thousands of iconic characters and creative works that have just entered the public domain.
That's so cool. I want to see some streetwear hood-inspired Popeye, which I'm sure they're going to have tons of.
2025. On January 1st, the copyright protections on well-known comic strips, books, films, and musical compositions from the...
Dang, that's crazy. I didn't know so many different types of art enter the public domain.
Year 1929 have all expired, making them available to anyone.
Dang, 1929.
To copy, share, and reimagine for their own personal or public use at no cost. Errol Barnett
That's really cool.
has the story.
If you grew up in the 20th century, chances are you've seen countless Popeye the Sailor
That's crazy how old this cartoon character is.
cartoons, either after school or on a Saturday morning. But the spinach-loving, pipe-smoking sailor first made his public debut in a 1929 newspaper comic strip.
Dang, that's a long time ago.
Called Thimble Theater, created by E.C. Seagar. What is it, Tony?
I bet if you have that original cartoon, it's probably worth a lot of money.
That same year, Belgian cartoonist Georges Remy developed the adventures of Tintin. Seen it
That's so cool. Did you guys see this in theaters? I remember watching it.
here in Steven Spielberg's 2011 animated film about the young cub reporter and his dog Snowy. It also started out as a comic.
That's crazy that all these started out as comic strips. it would be a freaking dream come true someday if, like, by the time we reach issue 100, if Netflix or Disney or anybody wants to buy like the rights to the story, that would be insane. Because I feel like seeing your work go from a comic strip all the way to a movie really means that like your comic, your creation made it.
Strip. Popeye, 1010, and Snowy all turned 95 years old this year, ushering them into
That's crazy, 95. So that must be the number that pushes you into the public domain.
the public domain. According to U.S. copyright law, they join the likes of other characters that have already passed over,
Dang, look at all these characters.
including Sherlock Holmes, Tarzan the Ape Man, Winnie the Pooh, and most
I didn't know Tarzan was public domain. That's cool. And Winnie the Pooh.
famously Mickey Mouse.
Please welcome back to the Late Show, Mr. John Oliver.
Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse.
This is Steamboat Mickey, which is in the public domain now. Therefore, he can help with promoting any non-Disney related show. And it's great to have the mouse.
That's crazy. Literally, Steamboat Willie is all over Walmart. It's on every product. They're just like, slap him on everything.
The public domain every year is a time capsule. It's a snapshot of a moment in time, in history.
That is really true. That's what makes it so cool. I love pop culture.
We had the chance to meet up with Jennifer Jenkins, a professor at Duke University's School of Law and an expert in intellectual property.
That's dope. I want to hear what she says.
What does it mean when a work comes into the public domain?
It means that its copyright expires, in this case after 95 years, and the work becomes freely available for anyone to use and build upon without permission or fee.
That's crazy. I feel like a lot of musicians would be able to create so much more work if, like, music, like the ones that do mashups and stuff and remixes, if their music just entered the public domain quicker.
And how will that open the floodgates of not just consumption of the material, but a reinterpretation of these works?
I'm so glad you asked that, because it goes well beyond consumption to reinterpretation. First, I would like to thank Christopher Nolan.
I wonder what that means beyond consumption to reinterpretation. And I do like a lot of Christopher Nolan's works.
Because he's just announced that he's going to make a version of Homer's The Odyssey, which has always been in the public domain, predated copyright law. And so
I've never thought of that all of those really, really old books have to be public domain, right?
in 2026, his interpretation, his mythic epic action
So the Bible is public domain, right?
thriller, star-studded cast, will be one of the many works that's reinterpreted. And so that's one concrete example of what the public domain enables.
It was a really interesting reaction. I feel like I'm learning during this reaction.
Another movie, Wicked. It's built upon the public domain books. The wonderful
That is insane. So, like, obviously Wicked specific merch, like with Ariana Grande, is probably trademarked, but any old Wizard of Oz merch can't be, right? Because it's public domain.
Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum.
So once a work builds off of a public domain intellectual property, does the new work, like the newly created work, that's not in the public domain, right? Or is that also in the public domain? Please let me know for those of you guys that know.
Of course, not all public domain works that
This was one of the horror movies that came out.
are reimagined, improve, or even do justice to the original.
This is ridiculous.
There is a risk to these characters turning from,
The risk is that some cheesy horror movies are going to get made and maybe some weirdos are going to make some fan-made art like online, but that's literally that would have happened anyway without the freaking public domain. So
beloved children's characters to villains in slasher horror movies. We also saw this with Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
that is not that bad. Like, come on, no little kid is going to be like looking for Winnie the Pooh and come across a slasher. Even if they did, like, most little kids by the age of 4 know what a scary movie is.
The low-budget slasher flick appears to be an inevitability when these beloved characters enter the public domain. Like you said, it happened.
Yeah, it's inevitable, but who cares? Like, it's funny.
Happened with Mickey, and there's already an announced flick called Popeye the Slayer Man. What do I make of that?
By the Slayer. Who is the person writing all these horror indie movies? That's so funny.
I think they're buzzworthy in the short term because of the incongruity between the original character and this new genre.
I feel like it's interesting. I would have watched this if I was a little kid. Right now, I do not have the patience.
But I think in the long term, they're not the kind of works
Oh my
that
gosh, she's running through like a Dave and Buster's.
we're still going to be talking about and saw it for 10 years. That stand the test of time.
On the cinematic front, movies released in 1929 in what was known as the beginning of talkies.
Talkies. They taught us about that in a lot of my film classes at UCLA. Or, I mean, English. All the ones in the humanities, because they're all just all over the place in the humanities, I feel like. But they're interesting.
Or the sound era have also entered the public domain, including MGM's musical The Broadway Melody and the Marx Brothers' first feature, The Coconuts.
Not a huge fan of musicals. You guys already know that, even though I'm a gay person. It's just not my thing. I know what the stereotype is, but I just do not like musicals. You might need, I know like Neil Patrick Harris likes musicals, right?
Imagine for the first time sitting in a theater and being able to watch a movie and hear the sound that's synchronized with what's on the screen. It's an
Those talkie things probably were groundbreaking back then.
amazing moment. So we got the first sound films in 1929 by Alfred Hitchcock, Cecil B. DeMille, John Ford, Harold Lloyd, Clara Bow, who was the it girl and sex symbol at the time.
Famous
That's crazy.
books are also up for grabs.
There's some literary masterpieces going into the public domain in 2025. They include Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms, William Faulkner's The Sound of
I read a few of Ernest Hemingway's stuff in high school.
Fury, Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own, and also from the hard-boiled detective genre, the first appearance of the Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett.
That's crazy. Are they going to be singing in the rain remixes on TikTok now? You got to protect TikTok. Don't let it get taken down. Freedom of speech.
Among the musical compositions anyone can now record, Singin' in the Rain, immortalized in the 1952 Gene Kelly musical of the same name. It originally appeared in the film The Hollywood Review.
So in the movie Robots, for those of you guys that saw that, in their spoof on Singing in the Rain, when the robot was singing in the oil, did they have to pay the original creator for that then, since it wasn't in the public domain yet? Comment if you know, please.
View of 1929. Fats Waller's classic Ain't Misbehavin'.
Ooh, this is a scary song, and they used this Tulips song in a lot of the Insidious franchise, I believe. So does that mean they were having to pay royalties and now they don't have to? That means that all these songs I guess I could use in reels and stuff, but no.
And Tiptoe Through the Tulips, made famous by the comedian Tiny Tim in the late 1960s.
That guy is scary. How's that a comedian?
Do we lose anything by someone's original work entering the public domain and not being credited or paid for it?
The original copyright holder has already
No, I think things should expire.
benefited from 95 years of protection. The vast majority of culture is not making money for anyone.
Exactly. So you're really lucky if you even got paid like a little bit. Because a lot of times, like they'll teach you in history, a lot of people do not get paid for their culture or their artwork.
After 95 years, or even 75 years, or even 50 years. So for the vast majority of works from 1929, no one's losing anything because they're out of circulation. But now we all gain because we can share them.
Exactly. Now you could use them in your own artworks.
We can rescue them from obscurity, we can make them available, and we can discover, enjoy, and breathe new life into them.
And yeah, people are probably going to make versions of art that you don't agree with, but that's the point of art.
Brendan, who produced it, knows me well because I was like, oh, does that mean we can start singing in the rain right now? We don't have to pay anybody for it. I am what I am, and that's all that we are. Oh, look at the Popeye reference. I love it. Can't wait to see. I think that's Slash.
Alright, you guys, that was me reacting to all of the thousands of creative works that are going to be entering the public domain as of the beginning of this year. I thought it was great and very informative and educational to react to this. Let me know who you guys are most excited to see enter the public domain. I think for me, it's going to be Popeye, and the ones I didn't know was Tarzan, and the ones I was already excited about was Winnie the Pooh and Mickey. So, thank you guys so much for joining me on this pop culture reaction. I will see you guys in our next one. Like and subscribe and join that email list. I'll see you next time.